week's Extraordinary, I wish that I could come up with some shows aimed at the ladies.
I think Arrow actually has a pretty strong female fan base.
That's true. Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Supernatural.
Oh, yeah, Smallville.
Doctor Who.
That's true. You know what? I think this time we should actually talk about shows that are subversively aimed at those of us with some special parts.
Sounds like a great idea to me.
So, this week on Extraordinary, we're actually talking about one of the things that I think gets women into fandom, and that is the huge number of TV shows that are aimed at the ladies. Maybe not on paper, but come on, you've seen Arrow.
Oh, yeah.
I believe he referred to Arrow when he was first telling me about it as, you know, that show with the abs.
Yeah, literally the most abs per capita of any show I've ever seen. I mean, even the cover is just, you just see the...
It's like
top,
from his chin to his
the
thighs.
Abs, yeah.
Abs. They could subtitle Arrow, cross it out, abs.
And I'm not exaggerating when I say that they go out of their way to have his abs in at least one time
If you
per
work
episode.
that hard on him, come on.
That's the thing, I don't hate on him, because it's like, yeah, if I had abs like that, I would never wear a shirt. I would just wear sleeves and pants. There's no torso covering at all.
So you're just going to get like some elegant gloves that go up to your elbows, or
pretty
steal them
much.
from the X-Men.
Yeah.
I'm sure Rogue has some stretchy ones you can borrow.
She wouldn't mind.
No, see, another time, we'll talk about why Rogue is entirely in the wrong. All she needs is a gimp mask, some condoms, and a little creativity. Anyway, tonight, though, we're talking about all the shows that are aimed at ladies. So we came up with a whole list of them here, and that would be Smallville, Supernatural, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, True Blood, the new Dracula series, in the U.S., Doctor Who, Sleepy Hollow, and, most of all, every single thing on the CW network.
Yeah, the CW seems like it has... it's very interesting to me, especially considering now that they're doing more DC properties. You know, they had a lot of success with Smallville. Smallville, I think, ran 10 seasons.
Oh, is that money? I thought it was 8.
No, they finished right at 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
That went on forever. Not in a bad way. I mean, it's a lovely show, but...
He is the last son of Krypton. He's got a lot to say.
It's true.
But Arrow, you know, so they have Arrow. So they're still doing the DC properties, you know, they're under Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And now they're bringing in Flash. And it's like, okay, you would think on the surface these are comic book characters. For the most part, guys would be into that.
Yeah.
But it's a CW, and that's more geared towards women. And it seems a lot more towards, like, younger women. Like, it seems like that's kind of like the teenage
Like they're
demographic.
subversively trying to sneak in all the 14-year-old girls to get them to come to conventions.
Yeah, and the thing is, like... for the most part, it doesn't actually alienate the male audience either.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, despite the fact that, like we said, Arrow, plenty of abs, we're like, okay, but he's still beating people up and shooting them with arrows, so we still like it too.
Yeah.
You know, and the girls like it because, you know, there's the fan service, and overall it's a good show.
Yeah.
You know. And then going to Buffy, I mean, you have a very interesting female protagonist, and I haven't seen a lot of Buffy, but I mean, is this generally... Yeah, well, I will defer to your expertise.
No, I think the Buffy was a great one. I mean, granted, it's a little older in the 90s, but the point is, that's kind of when they started getting some of these shows in that would appeal to women as well as men, and were very strong geek shows. So, with Buffy in particular, I mean, obviously, there's Buffy. If you don't really feel like you are the savior of the universe, there's her nerdy friend Willow. If you don't really feel like that, if you feel like you're just kind of starky and completely clueless about the entire universe, there's, I keep wanting to say Tara, but that was actually Willow's girlfriend. There's Anya, and the whole Scooby gang together worked really well as a unit. Like, it wasn't just a girl show like the Powerpuff Girls or anything where you're shoved off into the little ghetto. You're people that are interacting in the horrible city of Sunnydale where everything goes wrong, but still, you're interacting together, and there's a place for both women and men, and you're doing, and like, it was a show that anybody could watch, I feel, as long as you enjoy seeing vampires get slaughtered.
Yeah,
very much so.
Really, I agree with that. And that one wasn't necessarily aimed just at the ladies. I feel like a lot of the newer ones that are coming out, like, I gotta say, I watched the Dracula miniseries, and I haven't met any guys that did.
I didn't even know there was one.
Yeah, same here.
It had a lot of very pretty people in very pretty costumes doing very stupid things, and Patrick from Coupling. And it was one of those things like, I can't believe they're doing this to this story, but I can't stop watching, and I want the clothes. But it ties into some of the CW thing that you were talking about earlier, where a lot of this Dracula reboot that they just did was based on relationship drama. Not, I'm going to kill me some vampires. Not, we have to save the world. Yeah, the world's... There were entire episodes where the plot point was coolant.
Oh, wow.
Yes! Coolant and business meetings.
Whoa.
Nobody cared about the coolant and business meetings because A, you're going to see Jonathan Rhys Meyers without a shirt on.
Was he rubbing the coolant on himself?
Oh, that's only in the fanfic. Only in the fanfic. And B, relationship drama upon relationship drama upon relationship drama, which isn't a bad thing, but it is something that typically appeals more to the ladies than the stabby stuff.
Right.
I like the stabbing stuff more.
I understand.
Unless the stabby stuff also plays into the relationship drama.
Sometimes that's the way it goes, because the drama gets so intense that you get stabbed. And
Classic.
Is that what happens on all the CW shows that I don't watch? I hate to confess this. Look, I like the principle of the CW. I like the shows. I'll want to watch them, and then I'll sit there and watch them like, did the Dawson's Creek writers write this? I can actually feel my eyes starting to bleed just from looking at the screen too long. And I'm not hating on anyone that enjoys these shows. The thing is, I hate to break it to you, I have not had a super hard life and turned into a 14-year-old girl that looks like this. This actually represents a few years on my belt. And so I don't think it's aimed at me.
yeah, that's the thing that's really interesting, because a lot of people I know that watch Arrow are, they're males that are in their 30s.
Yeah.
But yeah, the show ultimately, it seems like it's geared towards, 14-year-old girls.
Oh my god. Dude, are you telling me that Arrow is secretly for bronies?
Well, there's that as well. That might be their ultimate plan.
Oh my god! Have we suddenly stumbled on the brony market is how you get both 30-year-old guys and 14-year-old girls, not just for bronies, but other things too, to like the same stuff and watch your shows? I'm gonna have to think on this, because this isn't something we rehearsed earlier. Wow.
Yeah, I guess that's what they did. They found that nexus. Because, you got superheroes, people that love DC Comics, they're going to want to watch Arrow.
Yeah.
And it's solid enough that you're going to enjoy it. It's not campy, it's dark. Like, Arrow actually kills people. Like, he shot a guy in the eye with an arrow in, the first episode. Well, the guy came back and didn't die.
Well...
But he had to kill him again.
He became dead.
Kill him right next time, dude!
Yeah.
Epiphany.
So, I mean, it has that for guys that want to see the comic book stuff. And then it has a lot of the drama and the relationships and stuff that appeals to a lot of younger girls.
Yeah.
So there is that nexus, like you said, the bronies, where it's like, it's a, bronies, it's like My Little Ponies. It's supposed to be a show for girls, but guys can enjoy it too, because they have interesting characters. So
do you think this is actually a sign, and we'll get back to some of the other shows in a second, but do you think this is a sign of progress socially, that it's socially acceptable for men to watch a cartoon that's aimed at 12-year-old girls?
I would imagine so. I mean, because for the most part, people, obviously there have been issues with bullying, but for the most part, as far as most adults, everyone's like, oh, you're into My Little Ponies, that's cool. No one really cares. No one's gonna shun you because that's what you enjoy.
Yeah.
It's not outright. But I would also say yes on the, if you look at the other side of that spectrum and look at the fan base of people who enjoy Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra, and of course Young Justice during its short 2-season stint, majority seems, or at least for Young Justice, that was proven to be female. Majority of the fans were female, but also with Legend of Korra and Avatar: The Last Airbender, you find if we're just going on Facebook and Twitter alone, there's a huge female fan base out there, So obviously these all of those shows, which by the way are all animated.
Yeah. Well, so he's representing for anime over here on our team. He is team anime on this particular.
I'm saying glad you brought up Avatar, because that is actually my sister's that was one of her favorite shows for the longest time.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
And she's not someone who really watches a lot of animated shows to begin with, and that was something that really appealed to her.
Interesting.
So, but I mean, those kind of shows send a really strong message. But not only that, they're on the opposite spectrum from people who love My Little Pony, in that My Little Pony is geared towards younger, 14 to 18-year-old female demographic.
No, it's not. It's geared at 8-year-olds, honey.
Okay, 8-year-olds. Okay, well, whatever. But it appeals to, the 18 to 67-year-old male demographic, whereas on the other side of that, the Avatar and the other show I mentioned,
Korra.
Yeah, Legend of Korra, they're geared towards, 18 and up males and appeal to a wide range of young and older females.
Now, I've been to a couple more conventions that you guys have. Have either of you ever been to just an anime exclusive convention?
No, I've missed the
I've been
last
to
2
Econ.
years of Ikicon.
Yeah,
Okay.
Econ,
I've been
yeah.
wanting to go, but I think the last one happened the weekend before Christmas.
Yeah,
And
that
I
one
sadly, yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to get time off that soon.
Yeah.
Like
The reason that I brought it up specifically with the anime is, in my experience at anime conventions, it's overwhelmingly female. I mean, not overwhelmingly. It might be 60-40 female to male, which goes exactly the opposite of what the stereotypes are for science fiction conventions. And the more general conventions I've been to, like Dragon Con that I keep mentioning that I love, I'd say that's about 50-50 these days.
Yeah.
If not, it's super close. But anime in particular does seem to attract more... When I was growing up, it attracted more boys, because I think that the anime we were getting in the 90s was all like the hentai.
there was the hentai, and I remember your story, which I
Yeah.
love.
Yeah. I was traumatized at an influential age by some of that.
But yeah, late 90s, early 2000s, around the time I was just hitting high school, Cartoon Network had this beautiful block of 2-hour block of shows, anime shows, right after school, called Toonami, which had Gundam Wing, which is probably my entry into the Gundam saga, but Gundam as a whole is super incredible. They also had Cowboy Bebop later on, and Trigun as well, but they also had
Tenchi for a while.
Yeah, Tenchi Muyo, which is like, it's hard to say that was a pro anime show. When you really look at anime as a whole, and this is just completely off topic.
We're going to drag him back on topic momentarily.
Yeah. But it's part of the reasons why anime gets such bad flack, at least here in America, because people think it's just all it is male fan service. And Tenchi has a lot of that. Tenchi's really good show.
It's not that the male fan service is missing in anime. There is definitely plenty of that. But in addition to that, I think the things that end up popular, like, I always want to say Fruits Basket, and that's not the name of it. But
Fruits Basket.
It is Fruits Basket. Yeah. But Fruits Basket, Cowboy Bebop, definitely.
Yeah.
Things along those lines had a lot of appeal for girls as well. And I understand it's controversial about, like, are girls getting negative messages from anime. Setting all that aside for another time, it does get them into geek culture to begin with.
It really does.
Very strongly.
Well, and there's a lot of different points you can make for or against anime, but I would argue on the pro side in that you have tons of anime out there, and I would say even more so than what we have in American animation culture.
Yeah.
Whereas in American animation culture, we have stuff like Powerpuff Girls, maybe even Legend of Korra, which is probably more of a positive female role model for younger females. But on the other side, in Japanese animation culture, you have shows like... you have Cowboy Bebop, you have Faye Valentine.
Just drag him back.
You also have
drag him back, dude.
You also have Major Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell. She's a immensely positive.
I promise you
role
this.
model.
We will have a whole show on anime and just discuss that.
We will.
If you're still with us, we have more things to say about more general shows that aren't anime, which is all he watches.
Yeah.
Bring in the ladies these days. So anime, yes, definitely brings in the girls.
Yeah.
CW, yes,
it really does.
definitely brings in the girls. Another one that I feel of the more recent shows that's brought in some ladies is Sleepy Hollow, which if they don't watch Sleepy Hollow soon, I will hunt them down and murder them in their sleep, or I'll send Ichabod and his wife to do it.
That's all that was.
Because you've got two sisters as two of the main characters in the show, and there's a certain amount of relationship drama going on, not to mention all the wonderful craziness that is Sleepy Hollow. It's not a show allegedly geared towards women at all. I'm sure when they were writing up their demographic, they didn't include ladies in the slightest. But when I get on Twitter and I'm live tweeting, watching it because I need to do it with the community, everyone else that's replying is female. And it's not that Twitter is majority female. And I just love that. I love seeing all these other women that are like, yeah, this is actually a character I can relate to, or the relationship between these characters makes sense. And I feel like these newer shows that are bringing in more of the ladies have a lot to teach some of the shows that are like, really, guys, come on. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I will never stop bashing on.
You and me both.
Every time they try to do something that seems to be like that level of relationship drama on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it feels hollow somehow.
Well, I think because all the characters are hollow.
Yeah,
I think that's
true.
the problem.
They're just a bunch of sock puppets.
Yeah, pretty much just being led by Coulson.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of these shows have in common is that, because a lot of the times there's female characters in shows, and they don't really do anything. They're pretty much there as wallpaper.
Yeah.
Whereas the shows that, you know, more females tend to gravitate to, it's like, oh wow, these characters are actually interesting. You know, it doesn't have to be the quote unquote like strong female.
Yeah.
Like even if she's more vulnerable, she's at least interesting.
Yeah.
She's well developed. She's, you know, 3-dimensional.
I would say with the CW shows, I can't think of any of them right now. Well, that's not true. They've got a couple of brand new shows out that I don't think I've seen any of, but the ones you've heard of, none of them have a female protagonist. But they're hugely watched, and not just for the abs.
Yeah, because I was wondering that with Arrow, because it's like, yeah, I mean, granted, there's his girlfriend character and his sister, but they're not really main characters, you know, they're supporting cast, but that still has a very big, you know, female following.
Yeah. Another one that has a huge female following here in the U.S. at least is True Blood. As I was telling these gentlemen, in the city of Bontemps, gentlemen are not allowed to wear underpants, and we know this because every single time one of them has to get naked, he will start unbuttoning his pants slowly for the camera, a little slower for the camera, until you see that top half-inch of pubic hair, and then boom, it goes all the way to the back, and you just see his bare ass over and over and over again. Yes, there is some female nudity, but I feel like it's equal opportunity nudity going on with that. So,
As opposed to something
like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, where the only time you get to see penis in Game of Thrones, it's being cut off.
Yeah, cut off, or it's like some lumpy, sweaty, chubby guy.
Yeah.
With a little.
I feel bad for that actor.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, I'm hoping they CGI'd that.
I'm hoping they
Maybe it was a prosthetic.
gave him like a bonus for just being more or less an extra. You know, he had enough speaking roles to get a credit.
Hoder.
No, I was talking about the other guy who was
yeah.
trying to kill Daenerys in that one episode.
Oh, yeah.
And then they had him slaved along, and he was like fully naked, and you
Yeah.
see his little dingle hanging around for a couple of like just enough to be like, hey, look, there's the penis.
Yeah.
On that subject, I wonder if Spartacus has a strong female following.
Ooh.
Because Spartacus, at the very least, the first season, like.
I love the first season of Spartacus.
And the way that Arrow
Oh,
has the
that's
most
cute.
abs per capita, Spartacus has the
Most
penis
penises per
of a non-pornographic show, if you consider it non-pornographic. Like, everybody is naked all the time.
Yes, they are.
Literally, the gladiators are just, like, ranked up, just standing there, just naked.
There's actually one particular moment that sticks in my memory where one of them was like, oh, which one's that? The one with the horse cock. Bring him over here. And then they actually panned, like, yep, it is.
I think that's the same guy that gets castrated, though.
Yeah. Well,
Sad.
details.
Sorry to ruin the fantasy, ladies. Apologize.
Yeah, and so I think it's fantastic, though, that you're getting not only shows on the CW that are clearly like, I keep coming back to, because this is the last time I paid any attention to CW, Dawson's Creek, where I feel like the writers stuck around and they're now writing Arrow, because that's the type of thing they write. But they've definitely figured out how to get that 14-year-old girl demographic to watch superhero shows, which is fantastic. And they with Supernatural, dude, they have figured out how to get the 40-year-old female demographic to watch that one, because wow, everybody's mom watches Supernatural. I mean, I don't know about your moms in particular, but
No.
it seems like everyone I know who's even remotely geeky, they're like, yeah, there's only 2 geeky shows my mom watches, and that would be Castle and Supernatural.
Well, you know, it's hilarious, and this is more of a pro towards, you know, women coming into the geek culture. My wife, I mean, she's a nerd by the definition, but she's not as nerdy as me or any of us here at this table. But she knows enough, you know, to where she could get by, but she would definitely be one of those kind of like berated if she decided, hey, you know, I want to dress up as Batwoman at Comic-Con, and be like, oh, did you even read this? Like, no, I don't read the book. I just like Batwoman. She looks like a badass, and she's the female version of Batman. That's all I need to know. That's her perspective. But she watches Doctor Who, and I did watch Doctor Who before she did, but she's watching it from, well, at least from the reboot beginning.
I hear there's a fantastic Doctor Who cookbook out there for those of you who looking for some little bit of extra.
Yeah.
Do go on.
She hit up Supernatural before I did, and I can't even think of any other ones, but it's usually ones available on Netflix.
Yeah.
X-Files. She's seen... I grew up on X-Files, okay? And how embarrassed am I that she's seen more episodes continuously than I ever had throughout my childhood.
Now, one of the fascinating things, when you were saying that you watched Doctor Who before she did, but now she's more into it, as in the US, Doctor Who fandom is hands down, this is for the ladies.
Yeah.
In the UK, from what I understand, it's all male. Like, they're taking the whole stereotypes of, like, the guys on The Big Bang Theory are what they think it's aimed at. and then they get into the international market, like, what are all these women doing watching this show that's aimed at 11-year-old boys? Because they really do think they're producing it for 11-year-old boys, and then they get over here like, why are there 11 women dressed up as female versions of the Doctor? We don't understand. Like, we do, because it's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
hello?
it's like literally almost every fan of Doctor Who I've met has been female.
As I was telling him, being single, you know, if you really are looking for a girlfriend, not only should you do cosplay, but you should also... Cosplay, gentlemen, that will help get you a girlfriend, as long as you're nice about it. And second, start watching some Doctor Who, because the Whovian ladies would love to find some men that are as into a fraction as into this as they are, because they're just not out there. Apparently, we need a swap with the UK.
Do an exchange program.
Exactly. We should get on some sort of like Whovian love website or whatever. Like, which one of us is willing to move? Oh, you get healthcare? I'm coming to you, baby.
It's not a bad idea. I'm going to find some investors. WomenLove.com coming to the internet near you.
Women love a man who look good in a bow tie and a sonic screwdriver.
It's true.
Right.
It's got
actually really
transportation.
is.
That's really important. In a
That's
relationship.
true. That's true.
Space,
It may not be the
airtime.
world's most reliable transportation, but it'll get you there more or less.
Yeah.
Many of the times. It'll get you where you need to be, even if it's not where you want to be.
There you
That's
go.
the important thing.
Isn't that what life is all about?
So what do you think motivated a station like the CW to go, you know what? We've got this thing that's just a bunch of hardcore DC Comics superheroes. Let's market it at 14-year-old girls. I mean...
I'm kind of split on that, because on one hand, I feel like that's the only way CW knows how to write. So they're just like, well, Warner Brothers just told us we got to make some shows, so we're just going to make them how we've been making them. I think that's kind of the thing that's kind of refreshing, actually. They didn't try to change it. They're like, this is our formula, this is what works. It doesn't matter if it's, I don't know.
So would you say that they're like, this is the CW formula, all of the shows that you pitch us, we will fit into these are our viewers that already exist. We've got our viewers, they're going to watch whatever we give them, so we're going to give them a superhero.
Yeah, it feels like that's the case. And then it's like, and then it just so happens, like, people that love superheroes are like, well, I'm still going to watch this,
Yeah.
you know, melodrama aside, it's still pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, like, the people that I know that watch Arrow in particular are girls much younger than me and guys 30 and above. And these guys.
Yeah.
I'm almost 30.
Well, that guy.
But like I've got a friend who's super into it, who's like in his mid 40s, and every now and then he'll be like, "This is my guilty pleasure." When he's typing something to me, it's like, "Yeah, dude, I watched the Dracula miniseries. I understand about guilty pleasures. It's okay." That's fantastic, though. That network would accept those shows and say, "Okay, fine. Warner Brothers wants to give us money. We're still going to make a Dawson's Creek.
Yeah.
Can we do that with the DC characters? You don't care? Okay,
You betcha.
yeah. Because I wouldn't have been surprised if something like Warner Brothers would step in and go, no.
Yeah.
Here's how you make one of these shows, instead of trusting the network to go, no, here's our audience.
I kind of feel like the pitch, they're just sitting there in their boardroom, is like, all right, get this. Dawson's Creek, very successful. Now imagine we had Dawson's Creek with abs.
And murder!
And then you got
Lots
Arrow.
of
They just threw it in a pot, threw some chemical X in there, and you get Arrow. And there you have it.
Now, True Blood, just kind of picking on some other ones, that originally started as a paranormal romance series of novels, which were always aimed at the ladies. It's kind of amazing they ever got any male viewers to begin with, in my opinion. Though I have the feeling that some of the male viewers got into it, well, A, because they heard there'd be a lot of nudity,
I think that probably
which
was
there
a lot of
were,
it.
and B, they heard that, like, the ladies that are into it might be single. Because, you know, the stereotype of anybody reading romance novels is,
Single, lonely.
yeah. And so,
found
hey,
wanting.
maybe if I chatter up about True Blood, like, well, that's true. Do you look like a werewolf?
Some might, they might, you know. Some
Well,
are
If you're
Take
going
your
just
shirt
for
off.
body hair, I think that fans have got that down. But if you're going for the, like, just a neatly trimmed beard and the abs, I think that's the thing that all of these things have in common is the abs.
Abs?
Well, no, I lied. Doctor Who does not abs. It does not have the abs. For that matter,
He
it
has
doesn't have
charm.
any menolin whatsoever either. Like, the Doctor is the only person on this planet paler than me, as far as I can
To
tell.
be fair, he is in England and there's not much sun.
That's true.
So it's
But all
not
these
really
other
his
things,
fault.
they're filmed in Vancouver. Vancouver has more days of rain than the UK.
But they pretend like it's America.
That's true. I think they just shove them all into tanning beds. Everywhere.
They just
Round up for TV, kids.
When they do the makeup, they just do some spray on. Just get a base coat.
You know that's what would happen to me if I was ever on regular TV. It's like, hang her upside down. Somebody just like, pour the paint on her.
Just during the show, they have misters.
Step out of the cloud, you're going to end up orange. It's just for her. And another one, like Sleepy Hollow, because it's on Fox, you don't get anywhere near the amount of eye candy.
It's very conservative.
Conservative levels of eye candy.
Yeah.
Like even the shower scene with Ichabod, which of course I've rewinded and watched that a couple of times. They covered more than not in that one. So he doesn't quite have quite as rippling of abs. Instead, he just has a jacket that Ichabod. He got to have an anime thing. I have to pause just to say Ichabod.
Let me get
I understand that modern clothes, especially skinny jeans, don't fit you and that you don't really appreciate them, and I don't blame you for that because you're beautiful in the clothes you have, but please go back to the Ren Fair and get 7 matching outfits, because to the best of my knowledge, you only picked up 1, and that has to reek. No. Abby was right about you wearing some new clothes. How many weeks have you been on the show, and you're wearing the same jacket? I'm amazed she can be in the same room with you. You may now proceed.
So I think this guy probably just has one of those cartoon closets where he has the same outfit in every single, a repeat of everything.
I actually have 97 of these.
Yeah, so I guess he maybe has like just 10 jackets that's sitting in his closet. So maybe he's not that dirty.
Maybe.
He actually changes his clothes just into the same clothes. But regardless of that, I thought it was interesting that you mentioned, like, a lot of these shows, the common denominator are abs. There's eye candy for the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
But Doctor Who's one exception, and Doctor Who's interesting because, as you mentioned, in jolly old England, it's geared towards males.
Yeah.
And in America, mainly females are the ones that go rabid.
Oh, yeah.
The Doctor.
And it's actually fascinating compared to the U.S. shows, I feel, because none of the actors, all the actors that play the Doctor get lots and lots of ladies, like he's the most handsome thing in the world, but none of them are handsome by Hollywood standards. Like, they tend to cast stick-thin guys.
Yeah.
David Tennant looks like if he turns sideways, you could block him with a feather. It's ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, lovely, lovely man, but, and Matt Smith, he jokingly refers to himself as like a human giraffe and things like that, very gangly and whatnot. Both of them are very pale, neither of them are particularly muscular, and the ladies are like, oh yeah. And you know why? Personality.
Yeah, definitely.
Heaven forbid you actually have a character that has traits that are appealing, not just gym time that's appealing.
Yeah, gym time's important, but definitely personality, trumps all that. But yeah, I guess that's the thing, because you go back to the American shows, yes, they have the lovely abs, but they're interesting characters as well, and
yeah.
I think that's the whole thing, whether they be male or female, that's why they're appealing.
Yeah.
Because, they have depth to these characters, unlike Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is garbage. And nobody, male or female, likes those.
The worst thing about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has to be that some of the actors kind of troll the fans, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're not winning us over by making fun of us.
You're all a bunch of losers.
Clark Gregg
can't believe he
looking
said
at you.
that. Yeah. So BBC shows in general tend to be more popular with the ladies and the gentlemen anyway. Do you think that has something to do with, they look different than we do. Not just because the British are their own special people, but they have a very different aesthetic as to what they're going for. And I feel like almost all the BBC shows that I've watched, except for anything that has Jamie Bamber in it, who's clearly cast because he's got American abs. He played Apollo in Battlestar Galactica, and he was also on a great BBC series, I guess, because it got cut off too long. That was one of the few actual colonization things that I've seen in ages. I highly recommend it. Netflix, our friend.
I'll add it to the queue.
Yes.
What's it called?
I don't remember.
Oh.
I was trying to slide past that one without getting caught there. But they've got a very different aesthetic that they're going for with those shows. And yet it goes over fantastically well over here. And I feel like that's actually a good lesson for people that are looking for a mate. For all of you single people out there who are like, oh, I don't look like somebody in Hollywood, so no one's ever going to want me. Well, I don't know. If you're this big around and a dude, if you look like someone that I could just knock off of his chair by doing that, just put on a pinstripe suit and a bow tie, and there's ladies that are going to want you.
Yeah, I think that is sound advice,
Yes.
for all the people that fit that, go ahead and try it out. And probably get a TARDIS also, though.
Yeah, that would come in handy.
Just sell your car and just get one of those instead.
There you go.
That would be nice. Well, all in all, I've got to say, as we wrap all this up, I am delighted that there's an entire network, the CW, that's decided, you know what we want? 30-year-old men and 14-year-old girls, not in the same room together, not doing bad things, just watching the shows.
There's laws against that.
That's true. Yeah. Keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. If you're on some sort of message board and whatnot, looking for fans, make sure they're old enough to do whatever it is you're suggesting they do in the fanfic. Not that I'm saying anyone would make suggestions otherwise.
No.
Yeah. Not among the noble people that are fans, no.
Those are laws against nature.
But in all seriousness, this is what's getting the women to the cons. It's not just the cosplay, though we do love that. It's the fact that, we've got Smallville, we've got Supernatural, we've got Arrow, we've got all these other things, plus the BBC shows, plus things like True Blood and Dracula and Sleepy Hollow and all that, that are, if not entirely, then at least partially, aimed at ladies these days. We actually have finally achieved a point where science fiction, I'm not going to say has parity, but they're actually trying to appeal to women as well as men, and I love it.
That's great. It's like they're getting there. It's like they're not quite there, but we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and they're not all strong female characters. Which if I see one more strong female character, I just want because they're not. They're like a certain different type of stereotype, and there's only so many times that you can watch Lara Croft in something else. Because as far as the type of person she is. The CW shows in particular, the girls get catty. And Dracula was just crazy. I mean, just trust me, gentlemen, full of batshit crazy.
Abs.
And abs. Very, very pale men with abs. But I really like the fact that there are things that are getting younger women interested in a subculture that I clearly have some fondness for, and that some of the single men would really like it if more of the ladies would get involved with as well. What show do you think that more men ought to be watching if they want to find a girlfriend?
Well, from my limited research, it seems like Doctor Who would be the one.
Okay, other than Doctor Who, because we've already said this before. Are there any CW shows that you're like, okay, if you want to be able to chat up a lady at a convention, what would you recommend?
I almost want to say Supernatural.
Supernatural. I was going to say Supernatural.
Yeah. Any second place with any of the newer ones?
I'm kind of on the fence with Arrow, because most people that I know that watch Arrow are guys.
Okay.
So maybe True Blood would be my next one.
I'll say Avatar.
Of course you will, because it's anime.
Avatar is over, sir. It's Legend of Korra now.
Legend of Korra.
Anyway, come back for our next Extra Ordi-Nerdy, wherein we'll discuss things involving rhinos.
We'll be here.
Bad Wolf.